we have to continue to talk Anatta Lakkhana Sutta. Buddha preached the discourse of no soul to the 5 bhikkhus, Venerable Kundinya, Venerable Wappa, Venerable Bhaddiya, Venerable Mahanama, and Venerable Asaji. And Buddha asked, Tanke Minyata Bhikkhave, Bhikkhus, what do you think of that? I am about to ask, you may answer in any way you think suitable. Rupa Nechanva Anechanvati. Is Rupa permanent or impermanent? And the bhikkhus answer, they all are practitioner. Anechanvati, the Blessed One, Rupa is not permanent. The Blessed One asks them whether Rupa is permanent or not permanent. The answer, Rupa is not permanent. So this answer can be given from knowledge gained by ordinary hearsay. We easily answer, not permanent. But what Lord Buddha wanted was an answer based on their own knowledge, based on their empirical knowledge. And the group of 5 bhikkhus all became Sotapannas. They have seen the truth and their answer was out of their knowledge in accordance with the wishes of the Blessed One. Rupa, in Pali, material properties, Rupa or Kaya, Kaya Nupasi, contemplating the body in the body, or you are observing the Rupa Khanda, the aggregates of matter. So Rupa, you need to understand you are observing the Rupa. What are the Rupa? Observing the leg, hand, eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, abdomen. These all are Rupa. Also yogi are practicing with Rupa. Now you are observing the Rupa. Yogi know the actions of rising. You watch the abdomen and the body need oxygen and you cannot stop wanting to breathe in, and you breathe in and the abdomen rise. You attentively note the rising. You perceive the phenomena of extension, pressure, and motion in the abdomen very clearly. The phenomena of extension, pressure, and movement is the manifestation of Rupa, manifestation of Vayo Dhatu, that is air element. The phenomena of extension, pressure, and movement was non-existent before. Your body needs oxygen, and after that you breathe in. Now it becomes manifested, just as the abdomen begins to take a rise. Then there is the rising of the phenomena. It's becoming. The beginning of the phenomena is the rising of the abdomen. When yogi properly note, yogi observe, yogi perceive very clearly the nature of Rupa. You carefully note rising, and rising comes to an end. Now there is no more extension, now there is no more pressure, no more motion in the abdomen. All pressure and movement are said to terminate, they disappear, they pass away, they cease. So while the rising of the abdomen you note, yogi also perceives this rising pass away, this rising disappear. The dissolution followed by immediate rising is sure the characteristics of impermanence. So when you are noting the rising and falling of the abdomen, you realize this nature of impermanence. This is jnana there is vipassana insight knowledge, that is insight knowledge of impermanence, anicca nupassana jnana. This knowledge of impermanence comes from noting the beginning and end of each arising. So this knowledge is sammasana jnana, that is knowledge of comprehension. That is the first step in the series of 10 jnanas in vipassana meditation. The sammasana jnana, the knowledge of comprehension, sees through only the beginning and end of the phenomenon of the same types of mind and matter. So in this stage, the 5 details of what happened in between you cannot perceive yet. So it is just the knowledge of impermanence. You perceive the becoming and dissolution of the continuing process presently happening. When noting the phenomena of rising, you perceive the beginning of the rise as well as the end. To know the beginning of the rise is to know its becoming. To know the end of the rise is to know its dissolution. So if you see the becoming and dissolution of each arising of the abdomen, there can be no misconception of that rupa to be permanent. It is definitely impermanent, you perceive. After breathing in, you cannot stop, and there comes falling. When noting the phenomena of falling, the contracting motion of the abdomen, you clearly see. So that is rupa, that is air elements of movement. In seeing the beginning of the falling movement of the abdomen and its end, you see the phenomena of rupa, phenomena of air element. The falling rupa was not in existence at the time of extension. It is only when the rising movement comes to an end, the falling rupa comes into being. Then finally the falling rupa also vanish away. Falling rupa disappear instantly. So this falling rupa is also not permanent. What is anicca? What is impermanence? Aniccam khayatina, it is impermanent because of its nature of coming to an end. So in accordance with this definition, the falling of the abdomen manifested by the contracting movement comes to an end, it ceases. So it is impermanent. So another commentary says, Hotva abhavato, non-existent previously, it comes into being and then it dissolves, it perishes away. So it is anicca, it is impermanent. While you are noting the falling, the beginning and end of the phenomena of falling, yogi perceives. A yogi realizes the impermanent nature of the falling. So this is true anicca nupassana jnana, understanding the nature of impermanence at the stage of knowledge of comprehension, sammasana jnana. In this jnana you see the becoming and dissolution of the continuous process presently happening. You keep on noting, and when you practice continuously, you reach the stage of uddiyabhya jnana, the knowledge of rise and fall. At the level of this stage, during the interval of one cycle of rising and falling, you note 3, 4, 5 distinct moments of beginning and ending of the phenomena at the stage of Uddiyabhya Jnana. And when you come to the Bhinga stage, the knowledge of dissolution, during the interval of one cycle of rising and falling, you see numerous moments of dissolution pass by, they like flying, and the material body of rising and falling, being subjected to incessant dissolution, you perceive it is not permanent. So up to your continuous and precise noting, you see the objects more and more clear. So first you see the objects clearly and you can distinguish the mind and matter. You see it is not the one, it is mind, it is matter. So this is you achieve the purity of view. Purity of view means when you watch the objects, you just see that there is just the object and there is the mind that takes that object. So there are only just these two things arising and disappearing, and there is nothing in addition to these two things which we can call a self or soul or an atta. So this is the knowledge of defining mind and matter, nama rupa pariccheda jnana. After seeing mind and matter clearly, you see the causes of mind and matter. You see that something is the cause of mind or something is the cause of matter. At this stage, you are able to overcome doubt, skeptical doubt. You have no doubt about the practice. So after discerning the causes of mind and matter, you comprehend the three characteristics. At this stage, yogi takes objects as a group and then contemplates on them as impermanence, suffering and not so. So this knowledge is knowledge of comprehension, sammasana jnana. At this stage, yogi dwells on many objects and try to see these objects as impermanence, suffering and not so. After comprehending these three characteristics of mind and matter, yogi comes to see the arising and disappearing of mind and matter or objects. So yogi sees the arising and disappearing of individual objects. Yogi does not take a group objects, but yogi takes each individual object at the moment, and yogi sees that the objects arise and disappear. So when you see the arising and disappearing of mind and matter, yogi's concentration becomes strong, and when his concentration becomes stronger, he begins to experience what are called impediment of vipassana, some obstacle. So he may experience light, he may experience joy or pity, he experiences tranquility. A yogi experiences strong confidence. So his effort is strong, he experiences happiness, and his understanding is very sharp at this moment. His mindfulness is also very firm. Yogi keeps on noting all the objects, and yogi can transcend these impediments, and his understanding becomes strengthened. So when his understanding becomes strengthened, he sees more clearly the arising and disappearing of objects. After that knowledge, next step is Bhinga jnana, the knowledge. He see the disappearing only, he see only falling of the objects. Yogi does not try to see the arising, so his seeing or understanding is disappearing only, falling only. So at this stage of knowledge, whatever objects he observes, he sees as disappearing. When he sees just the disappearing of whatever objects he keeps his mind on, that object disappears. So up to your vipassana knowledge, you see the rising and falling, not the same. We cannot sit the whole day. The body need to do some exercise. So we need to bend. We need to stretch our limbs. So yogi note carefully bending, stretching. Yogi attentively note, and yogi see the beginning and end of each bending, and the beginning and end of stretching. So it is seen thus because the respective motions are being carefully noted. When we are not in retreat, if we not practice, we will not be aware of the bending. We will not be aware of the stretching of our limbs. Even if he is aware of the bending or stretching of his limbs, he will not perceive the beginning of the movement separately from their ends. So he thinks that the hand which was there before bending or stretching remains there after the movement. He thinks the same. Outside, we don't know our rupa very clearly. Here in the retreat, we need to slow down to understand our rupa. So you slow down to move the limbs, and you see slow movement of the limbs, gradually passing from one moment to another moment. Not the same. At every occasion of bending or stretching, the beginning of the extending and movement is becoming of the air element. The end of the extending and moving is the dissolution of the air element. So when noting the bending, to know the beginning and ending of each bending is to know the arising and dissolution of rupa, the arising and dissolution of air element. So to understand the nature of impermanence, you carefully note stretching. And to know the beginning and end of each stretching is to know the arising and dissolution of air element. So in one single act of bending and stretching, you know the separate slow motion of the limbs, gradually passing from one moment to another. So this is knowing the arising and dissolution of air element. The characteristics are extension and movement. And the gradual slow motion of the limbs reveal the nature of impermanence. However, it cannot be realized without taking heedful note of each movement. And practicing walking meditation, some people say it is very easy, but it is really not easy to understand the true nature of movement. So while practicing walking meditation, yogi carefully note left, right, very precisely. A yogi knows the beginning and end of each step. So this is knowing the arising and dissolution of the air element, that is extension and movement of the legs. Yogi perceive. A yogi takes note the movement, raising, pushing forward, dropping, attentively. A yogi separately knows the beginning and end of movement, raising, pushing forward, dropping. So there is also knowing the arising and dissolution of air element, knowing the separate slow motion of the legs involved in each act of moving is also knowing the becoming and dissolution of air element. So air element responsible for movement of each step is arising and passing away with each step. A yogi confirm Rupa is a nature. All steps are impermanent. And touching anywhere of the body is very clear. Yogi note the feeling or touch that may be felt anywhere. A yogi know the arising of sensation of touch and it disappear. So this is knowing the arising and dissolution of the rupa, material quality, involved in touch sensation. A yogi knows the arising and passing away of sensitive material quality of your own body as well as the tactile body. A yogi realizes the fleshly arising material bodies are not stable but impermanent because yogi has seen their instances arising and passing away by actual noting. A yogi hear the sounds of birds and also somebody coughing. Yogi note hearing. Yogi keep the mind inside the ear. A yogi notice the sound is freshly arising and disappearing. So this is knowing the arising and dissolution of sound, rupa. So the sound which arises every time, whenever you hear, it is not permanent. Along with these material qualities of sound, rupa, the material qualities of the ear arises afresh and disappear with the sound. So it may be said that once the arising and dissolution of sound yogi perceive, the arising and dissolution of the ear yogi also know. So during the retreat, yogi ears are very sharp. Yogi takes note of sound as hearing without thinking anything. Every time yogi note hearing, yogi knows the impermanent nature of sounds. A yogi knows at the same time the impermanent nature of ears. The sounds of traffic, the sounds of siren, or the sounds of birds are generally regarded to be as one continuous stretch. If we not practice, it is only one continuous stretch. But in the retreat, yogi practice very attentively. Yogi note hearing very precisely. A yogi inside knowledge getting strengthened. And these sounds can be cut. These sounds appear in minute portion, section by section, unit by unit, one after another. So yogi realize the material quality of sound also arising and perishing at a very fast pace. Normally, most of the yogis see the arising and passing away of hearing clear. But for seeing, it is very rare. But according to the instruction, yogi have to note seeing every time. So yogi notes seeing at the time of seeing an object. Yogi not forget. Yogi knows the seeing process very clearly. When yogi knowledge highly developed, A yogi see the seeing consciousness and the seeing the objects are first appearing and disappearing. Then the visible form, which arises afresh and perish instantly, yogi confirmed they are not permanent. So the material quality of eye sensitivity, retina, arises and perish simultaneously with the visible form. A yogi perceive they are all impermanent. So we continue other eating, smelling, thinking. Tomorrow we have to stop our discourse for today. By practicing Satipatthana Vipassana meditation, by observing every phenomena occurring at the six senses continuously and meticulously, may you all understand the nature of anatta. May you realize the real peace very near future. Sadhu.